Hello everyone and welcome to Bible Gilgal. Our principle is understanding the Bible through the Holy Spirit, know the Holy Spirit through the Bible. Our philosophy is to glorify God's kingdom of light through teaching, shepherding, and evangelism. Our core values are light, love, peace. We invite you to join our Discord discussion area. The content of this video is to:
What is Shavuos? Shavuos, May 25th to 27th, 2023, is a two-day holiday that commemorates the date when God gave the Torah to the Jewish people at Mount Sinai over 3,000 years ago. Preceded by 49 days of counting in eager anticipation, Shavuos is celebrated through desisting from work, candle-lit dinners, staying up all night to study Torah, listening to the reading of the Ten Commandments in synagogue, enjoying dairy foods and other festivities. Shavuos is a two-day holiday, beginning at sundown following the 5th of Sivan and lasting until nightfall of the 7th of Sivan, May 25th to 27th, 2023. In Israel it is a one-day holiday, ending at nightfall of the 6th of Sivan. How is Shavuos celebrated? Women and girls light holiday candles to usher in the holiday, on both the first and second evenings of the holidays. Read the holiday candle lighting procedure here. It is customary to stay up all night learning Torah on the first night of Shavuos. Read how and why we stay up here. All men, women, and children should go to the synagogue to hear the reading of the Ten Commandments on the first day of Shavuos. Learn about the Ten Commandments here. As on other holidays, special meals are eaten, and no work may be performed. More on how we rest on Jewish holidays. It is customary to eat dairy foods on Shavuos. Menus range from traditional cheese blintzes to quiches, casseroles, and more. Learn the reasons for eating dairy on Shavuos here. On the second day of Shavuos, the Yizkor memorial service is recited. Brush up on Yizkor here. Some communities read the Book of Ruth during morning services, as King David, whose passing occurred on this day, was a descendant. What is the meaning of Shavuos? Shavuos definition and alternative names. Name meaning. Shavuos weeks. Yom HaBikurim, day of the first fruits. Chag HaKatzir, the harvest festival. Atzeret, the stoppage. Zeman Maton Toratainu, the time of the giving of our Torah. Shavuos, or Shavuos, means weeks, and it refers to the biblical holiday celebrated on Sivan 6 and 7 in the diaspora, on the anniversary of the giving of the Torah at Sinai. It celebrates the completion of the 7-week Omer counting period between the second day of Passover and Shavuos. The same Hebrew word also means oaths, which is the subject of the Talmudic tractate of Shavuos. The other names of Shavuos. Shavuos is also the celebration of the wheat harvest and the ripening of the first fruits, which is the reason for the other two biblical names for this holiday: 1. Yom HaBikurim, or the Day of the First Fruits. 2. Chag HaKatzir, the Harvest Festival. In the Talmud, Shavuos is also called Atzeret, which means the stoppage, a reference to the prohibition against work on this holiday. In the holiday prayer service, we refer to it as Zeman Maton Toratainu, the time of the giving of our Torah. What Shavuos means today. Today, Shavuos is celebrated by Jews around the world through lighting candles each evening, staying up all night to learn Torah, hearing the Ten Commandments in synagogue on the first morning of Shavuos, and the consumption of dairy foods such as cheesecake and blintzes. Tikkun Leil Shavuos. Learning on Shavuos night. By Eli Lands. On the first night of Shavuos, Jews remain awake learning Torah, often reading a syllabus, known as Tikkun Leil Shavuos, that contains excerpts of every book of the Tanakh, Hebrew Bible, Mishnah, Kabbalah, as well as the 613 mitzvot, allowing the reader to skim through the landscape of Jewish tradition in just a few hours. Rooted in the Zohar, this Tikkun is a preparation for the following morning, when the Ten Commandments will be read in the synagogue, similar to how a bride prepares for her wedding day. A peculiar custom. Let's take a walk for a moment. It's Shavuos night, the festive meal has finished. Like so many other festival nights, you'd expect the events to play out in a familiar pattern. The guests head home, the older family members help clean up, but slowly, one by one, the family drifts off to sleep. But this night, something different happens. Rather than going to sleep, the members of the household stay up all night and learn Torah. The obvious question is, why? What is so special about this night that so many people forego a night's sleep to stay up learning instead? To understand this practice, we're going to take a step back in time to the very first Shavuos, the day GD gave us the Torah at Mount Sinai. A lazy reception. The giving of the Torah at Mount Sinai is one of the most fundamental and famous moments in our history. But any great event is only as momentous as the preparation that leads up to it. This story is about the preparation the Jewish people took the night before the giving of the Torah. The Midrash records a fascinating story. The night before the giving of the Torah, the Jewish people did what anybody does before an important event. They turned in early for a good night's sleep. This seemingly innocent decision, however, led to embarrassing consequences. The next morning, when it came time for the Torah to be given, the place was empty. The entire Jewish people had slept in. The Midrash even recounts that Moses had to wake them, causing GD to later lament, "Why have I come and no one is here to receive me?" This story remains a shameful part of our history, and it is at the heart of the custom of staying up late. In order to rectify our forefathers' mistake, we stay up late every Shavuos night to show that our enthusiasm isn't lacking at all. But there's still much that remains to be explained. Who started this custom of staying up late? How widespread is it? Perhaps most importantly, why is it still necessary to rectify an event that took place thousands of years ago? To explain this, let's start by taking a look at the sources for this custom. Kabbalah, halakha, customs, oh my. The custom of staying up late has developed in stages over the years. Tracing its sources leads us on a fascinating journey through our history and the many facets of the Torah. Let's start at the Zohar, the earliest source for the custom. This ancient Kabbalistic work, written in the years after the destruction of the Second Temple, recounts that Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai, the author of the Zohar, as well as the early pious ones, would stay up learning Torah on Shavuos night. The Zohar does not mention anything about the Jews sleeping in, instead writing that this practice was a preparation for and in honor of the brides, the Jews' upcoming marriage to the groom, GD, or the Torah. However, the Zohar does mention that their learning was to help fix the bride. Our journey now skips over 1,000 years, leading us to a fascinating occurrence that took place sometime in the early to mid-1500s in Turkey. 5 Rabbi Joseph Caro, the author of the Code of Jewish Law, invited Rabbi Shlomo Alkabetz, the composer of the Friday night prayer Lachar Dodi, to his house to learn that Shavuos night. Alkabetz relates that, as they started to learn Mishnayot, Caro began to speak, his voice turned powerful and loud, his words sharp and enunciated. Those present instantly grasped that this was not Caro speaking. The voice praised them, telling them that their learning had pierced the heavens and reached GD himself. As their words ascended, the voice continued, the angels became silent, some standing still while others wept, all stopping to listen to the sound of their learning. This story quickly spread like wildfire throughout the Jewish world. We continue to the town of Safed, Israel, to the famous Kabbalist Rabbi Isaac Luria, commonly known as the Arizal, or Ari for short. The Ari famously never wrote any of his teachings down, most of them were instead recorded by his most prominent student, Rabbi Chaim Vital. Rabbi Vital records that the custom of staying up late is a truly important one, and writes that it had already become widespread throughout Jewry. He then makes a promise: those who stay up Shavuos night, refraining from even a second of sleep, and spend the night learning will be protected from any harm that year. Our final step takes us to the Magen Avram, a prominent halakhic authority who lived from 1635 to 1682. He quotes the Zohar about staying up late and then, for the first time in history, suggests the above-mentioned reason for this practice. that it's to rectify our forefathers' mistake of sleeping in the first Shavuos. Though there are many Kabbalistic reasons for this custom, the reason of the Magen Avram is the most widely known and cited. Nowadays, this practice of staying up is kept in virtually all communities.
Alright, that's all for this video. We are Bible Gilgal. We invite you to join our Discord discussion board. We invite you to share, like, subscribe, to leave a message. We are Bible Gilgal. The video is over. May the Lord bless you all.